right. Dang, that must be the big one. Is it the big one?
My head?
No, the phone call, man.
Oh, no. I don't know who that is. They'll answer it, though.
Right on. So thanks for taking some time to sit down and talk story with me. So every year, Pivot publishes our member growth rankings, where we document the annual growth in leads, revenue, and operating profit for all of our members. And then we do this cool thing where we give first, second, third, fourth, and fifth place out for greatest increase in leads, revenue, and operating profit. This year, you had incredible results on the revenue and operating profit side, coming in second place with revenue and first place for operating profit. Congratulations, right, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, like, if I don't know Level Creek, and you're not in one of my peer groups, so I really actually don't know you that well. Tell me a little about Level Creek. Like, what's the origin story? Every restorer has a great origin story. Nobody was sitting in the sandbox at 9 years old going, I want to clean up flooded basements.
No, I never. I actually, when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a high school history teacher, but thank God I didn't. I own a restoration business. The way we started was back in 2008 when the real estate market tanked. I actually had a business partner for some time, and he was in construction. I was in real estate, and we were both sitting on my back porch one day saying, well, what are we going to do now? And we actually started a roofing company. We actually went to FedEx Kinko's, made some flyers to do free roof inspections, and started going out and knocking on doors to do roof inspections, and started a little roofing company. And doing that, working with, Xactimate, and working with the claims and everything, and working in the roofing industry, where quite frankly, I think most, roofers, a lot of roofers out there are sleaze bags. But we started, saying, what is this Xactimate? What are these claims? We're not doing, the gutters, we're not doing the interior work, et cetera. So we went out and bought some used mitigation equipment, started taking some IICRC classes, took Xactimate classes, and just started slowly building a company, to what it is now. There's been good years, and there's been, bad or building years, which we always have. I think right now, unless you're in the tornado alley, I think a lot of people are having a little bit of a slow year. Our first quarter this year was nothing like what we had last year down here in the South. We had that hard freeze right around Christmas in 2020.
Yep.
But no, so I've been doing this for about 15 years. I love it. There's parts of it, of course, we all know that we want to, ram our head into a concrete wall. But I think the pros and the joys of what we do definitely outweigh the cons. I used to have a lot more hair, and it was not as gray. But it's been a cool ride. It's been a cool ride.
So why do you choose to stay in restoration, right? Like, it's not the easiest business in the world. I think we all universally agree on that, but everybody seems to have a unique reason why they choose to stay.
Well, because nobody's paid me enough money to get out of it yet. No, I like what I do. After I've been in Pivot for some time, and I bought out my business partner about 4 years ago. And I thought, oh man, I'll get this thing the way I want it in about a year. That's not true. Don't ever buy a partner out in the middle of a pandemic. We're recovering from that. So, what I really like about it is my team. I've stuck by the core values, and, I do like it. Anybody in this industry, we work very hard at what we do. It was a holiday weekend this weekend. I was here Saturday doing some work. I was here Monday. We had 3 emergency calls. My guys had to go out. I didn't feel comfortable with being at home. So I came into the office to make sure that they knew where they needed to go. So I think it's a special breed of entrepreneur business owners. And I think this industry really holds a lot of owners accountable, and we kind of feed on that. We feed on wanting to make sure that our companies and our crews are doing what we want to do, but still being able to let go of the vine. You still have to be able to have that trust in your group.
Yeah, I always used to feel like Memorial Day and Labor Day were like free work days. Yeah. Like, those are the days where I would go into the office and be like, nobody's here and I can actually get stuff done.
Oh yeah, I do it a lot on Saturdays. I come in the mornings for a couple hours, and there's nobody asking questions. The phone's not ringing, and I'm like, man, did I get a lot done? Other than my wife is at the gym and I'm sitting here at the office, not getting any thinner. But then at least you don't. It's to me, it's a free day too to come in and just get some things done and get your head around what's going on at work. But I think we all like what we do. I think so.
How many years have you been in Pivot?
And Pivot since 2018. I was actually just walking back down and from the conference room and noticed that Kowalski hadn't sent me my 2023 plaque yet for my my Pivot plaque. So somebody needs to get on that. I'm going to send a strongly worded letter to corporate.
You better. Well, corporate headquarters north, because we're based out of Bozeman right now.
Right. Yeah. The summer HQ.
Yeah, summer headquarters.
Yes. So, but no. So yeah, since 2018, I joined. I joined Pivot. I know a lot of members of a lot of different groups from previous groups or experiences we've been in, and was and Pivot and John, what he does was presented to us, and joined up, and it's been a great experience. It's been a great experience, and it's also been a great experience to see how Pivot has grown over this short bit of time as well. How they're evolving and what they're doing as far as a brand and a company.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a wild ride. I'll say, I've been here with John for over a year now, and it has been a lot of fun to share a part in that growth and be a part of that success story for sure.
No, I agree.
Why do you decide to stay in Pivot? Like, you've been around long enough that you kind of are familiar with the systems, you get the lay of the land, but you're still seeing value. So tell me where you're seeing it, and what do we do that makes you go, you know what? Yeah, I'm still here. This is great.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of things. First off, it is the numbers, and to see how how the KPIs have evolved from when I started in 2018, which I thought it was head and shoulders above what I was doing before. But to see how it's involved to the Integra Nav. In fact, on my BOA call today, I believe Chad, who you had, I watched Chad's talk with you, was even talking about the Integra Nav. How, gosh, we still, we look at it, but we still haven't fully understand what it is. So there's still a lot to learn there as far as what you guys are doing with trying to take our data and make it into usable information and as much usable information as possible. So there's there's the numbers. I mean, and then, the idea of being in the group, right? Sure, I could do these numbers and turn them in and not be in a group and get the feedback of the Integra Nav every month. But the ability to be in a group and to be able to make those friends and those connections, and then to sit in those BOAs, whether it's in person or every month, and help somebody, because quite frankly, there were times, a couple of years ago where I was really, really, really down and with my business and what was going on, and to be able to have that, to be able to talk to somebody who might be, I might be here and they might be here. Same thing, you never know. It goes back and forth. And so to be able to have that esprit de corps with your group, and to be, especially if the group is honest and open and candid, I think it just benefits everybody in the growth of what we do. So it's not really just numbers. The numbers are probably the most important thing, but second to that is the relationships that I think Pivot brings together for people.
Awesome. So had some impressive growth in revenue and operating profit this past year. Was it a surprise, or did you see it coming?
Well, it was a surprise, and I guess, well, when you when you lost as much money as I did in 2022, and then it's all based on a percentage of revenue, right? So it was kind of a surprise. Like I had said earlier, we had a significant weather event, and I knew, getting into February and March, I knew that I was going to have a very good first quarter, and then it just kept rolling. And that was during the time where I was still doing some work. I brought in pretty much a whole new group of people, refocused on what the core values and what we needed to, what Pivot and my group decided I needed to work on. But yeah, it was a surprise. But what surprised me more was the efficiencies that we were operating at last year, and the increasing in our GP and the decrease in our overhead, which at the end of the day is what drips out as your profit, right? So yes, I was pleasantly surprised that the first quarter hasn't been as robust as it was last quarter. But I still think I'm sitting on a 15% net profit, today, even though my numbers are off a little bit for the year. So I think that's part and parcel of what we've been doing here to run as lean and to try to maximize that GP as on every single job.
Got it. What business systems did you work on to position the company for the increase in revenue and operating profit?
So what do you mean by business systems, Anthony?
We have the 48 different revenue drivers and internal controls. Like, which ones did you focus on last year that you could say, look, we did this and it resulted in this?
GP and gross profit on our jobs, and what I focused on was people. I unfortunately I cleared house. There's really me and one other guy that have been here for, I had to make the uncomfortable decisions that said, hey, I need people in here that see what I see and see these numbers, and they operate each and every job their own P&L. They know that this is where they need to be. And so bringing back that accountability to where we needed to be, and then deepening our bench. Luckily, the bench deepened with our labor, but we're always working on our overhead. We're always trying to see where, my CFO will come down and he'll say, I just cut $3,000 a year off of our phone bill, or I just cut $500 a year off of this. That's a bill. That's a monthly bill that can be paid. So always monitoring. There's really two things that you need to do. You constantly need to monitor your overhead, and you constantly need to try to maximize that GP. And the only way that I saw that I could maximize that GP was getting people in here that could do it. And I mostly hired from outside of the industry to bring people in, and I think it's been successful.
Interesting. So if there's restorers out there that are in a similar position and they're looking to make some hires from outside of the industry, what advice would you have for them?
First and foremost, you probably hear this all the time, is hire and fire based on your core values. Don't be scared if somebody does not, you can get a lot of smoke blown up and think you're hiring somebody, but if it's not going to work, it's going to show. And we were talking a little bit earlier offline. I had to make that uncomfortable decision with a teammate today that they're not here anymore. But one person can one bad apple can spoil the bunch, right? You have to look at that. But yeah, one of the successes I found is because the Atlanta market to me is a very incestuous market with, you can go to these different, industry events, and you see somebody that has, a logo, a Paul Davis logo on. Then you go, 3 months later, and that guy's wearing a different logo. And then, everybody just kind of moves around. So what I really tried to do is focus on really the core values and what I was looking for in an employee. And I found good people that were not in the industry. Sure, they have some idea of construction or anything like that, but not from the restoration industry. And I've had great success for bringing those people in. I got one guy that came in that was a truck driver for Cisco, a food company. Unbelievable guy, ex-Marine, great guy, strong work ethic. Another guy was a manager at a racetrack or a Quick Trip gas station. So he knew how to work on the fly. He knew, hey, sometimes my third shift manager wasn't going to be there. I got to be in there at midnight. So just really trying to look at the personalities and the dynamics of who that person is. And because you can train somebody to go in scope, and, project management is nothing more than management. It's time management and material management and moving everybody in one direction. You don't have to be a restoration pro to do that. You have to be organized. You have to know how to communicate, and you have to be a grown ass adult.
Be a grown ass adult.
Yeah. Sorry, my language. You can bleep it out.
No, no, I love it, man. I love it.
I don't curse as much as Chad Gome, I can tell you that.
Well, I'm a big, I saw something the other day that said, if you use profanity regularly, statistically, you have 10 to 15 higher level IQ points than somebody who doesn't.
Yeah, I must be a genius then. Or Klauser. Klauser. Now that guy's got a mouth.
Yeah. Klauser's smarter than all of us. That's
yes.
for damn sure.
Yes.
If somebody out there is considering joining Pivot, what advice would you have for them?
Be prepared to be overwhelmed. The things that you need to do to finally get to where you can kind of look at that big picture, that 30,000 foot view, and then be able to drill down into that information takes time. It takes time to get that foundation built, to do your KPIs, your WIP, your process map, the things like that. So don't get frustrated if it doesn't happen overnight. You go to your first BOA and you're like, oh my God. And then you show up for your second BOA and you're like, oh my God. So it takes some time, but trust the process, and then lean on the people in your group and use the website and John and Paul and you guys and even Barb to help shepherd you through, but don't think it's going to happen overnight. And then also, if you have an ego, put it in a box and put it on the shelf, and come to your meetings and come to your calls willing and able to help. But even more importantly, being able to sometimes just shut up and listen, because you can often learn more from just, listening to other people. The last BOA, my wife and I worked together. She attended, and she's, and I shouldn't say this, but when she left, she goes, I got more out of this BOA than I did out of the last marketing workshop I went to. But that was just because of listening to the other people and gleaning, what they're doing, and then being able to have that round table. So, being open and listen, and just knowing that these things take time to get into place. Numbers are tricky, and you have to have them all in the right place before you can start looking at them and trusting what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's good advice. Totally. So I always ask this question because I feel like it's unfair of me to sit up and ask you a bunch of questions without giving you the opportunity to ask one. So do you have any questions for me? Is there anything you'd like to know about me?
You personally?
Personally, professionally, Pivot? I don't care, man. It's an open door.
No, I mean, I know, I just, I guess the question is, and I think a lot of us know, ask or know, what's the evolution of Pivot? Where is it going? Where do you guys see Pivot? And, like you always ask us, where do you see us in 3 to 5 years? And what is coming down the pike for all of us that have been, that have, tasted some success and always some failure as well. But that have been with Pivot to know kind of what's coming down the road. What can we expect from you guys about what the changes are?
Yeah, so I'll put it into 2 different buckets, right? There's kind of IntegraNav, which is our analytics platform, and then there's the consulting services model that we operate under. So under the IntegraNav side, we're in the process of moving that online. And then once it's online, we've got a roadmap for feature development that includes things like breakdowns on lead sources, breakdowns on profit centers, kind of that wish list of if you had the ability to double click on anything in an IntegraNav report, providing that functionality down the road. So you'll be able to see, like, internet, right, is a bucket of leads that we track, but adding additional segmentation underneath internet to say which ones came from pay-per-click activities versus, generic search engine management versus social media, all those types of things, just as an example.
So being able to dive even deeper. So an internet lead is not enough. It's what kind of internet lead was it? And then be able to have that information to say, okay, well, this is where we should be putting our money. This is what's working for us.
Yeah, kind of the stereotypical use cases is if you're spending thousands on pay-per-click activity, is it resulting in leads or not?
Right. Now, were you a Pivot member?
No, I was not. I actually got introduced to John through his brothers, because I've
Okay.
known the other Kowalski brothers. That was my introduction.
Okay. So what made you want to join this unsavory bunch?
So two things. Number one, I've always had an appetite for the data and the analytics, and how, like, I don't get excited just looking at data, but it's the application of data in the business environment and the outcomes it can provide for the people who work for the business.
Right.
Like I love the interplay of what we perceive to think is right for our business and then what the data tells us.
Right.
80% of the time, those trains run on different tracks, but parallel tracks. But every once in a while, our intuition is telling us something needs to happen in the business, but we don't see it in the data. And so then the process of reconciling that and ultimately either deciding, look, I'm going to follow the data or I'm going to follow my own intuition, right? Nobody's ever right or wrong in that decision, but at some point you need to make a decision. And just watching those things shake out over time, like, I enjoy that. The other side of it is I wanted to be in an environment where there was a high level of trust and there was a high level of expectation, like a true team. And I saw that with John and Paul. Like, they're two individuals who, not only would I have a beer with them on any day that ends in Y, if I needed somebody to camp out at my house and take care of my family for a week, like, I would trust either one of those guys to do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, personally, like I said, I wouldn't have been able to what I've done over the last 3 years if it weren't for John Kowalski and then the team too, like Paul. And I agree, and I think that's one of the benefits of Pivot is when you can pick up the phone and you can call somebody and somebody answers on the other line, and whether it be somebody in your group or a Paul or a John. Because there's a lot of experience out there, and that's what that's what I think encourages me, and then gives you some solace too when you know that there's other people out here doing the same thing, having the same struggles that we are as well. So it's definitely a great sounding board.
For sure. And I think the third one is, and this has just been my drumbeat this year for whatever the reason, the industry started to go down a weird path that I wasn't too proud of recently. And I, listening to the stories of everybody I get to sit on the Restoration Industry Association board with about whether or not their children were getting into the business, made me start to ask that question of my own life and my own children that are 3 and 7. And I think the industry's great, but I think it needs to change a little bit. So then that way it can be an industry that I'd be proud for my kids to be a part of.
Well, what do you mean you think it's been changing? You think it's been changing from the carrier side or from the restoration business owner side?
I think yes to both. But I think you're hitting exactly what it is. It's been a fight.
Mm-hmm.
It's turned into more of a fight. Like, I remember the days back in the day where, you'd meet an adjuster on a job site and you'd be like, hey, look, I think it's going to be right around here. You want to set your reserves right around here, and there were no like third-party consultants. There were no, that was just you and that adjuster. You guys worked hard to figure out what was right and you went and did it.
Yeah, you met out, you agreed on scope. They either they wrote it up or you wrote it up. You turn it in. Hey, here's the supplements. Here are the pictures. It was done.
Yep.
I mean, it's been. I think this is one of the things where I talk a lot to agents with when I'm sitting down with them is, it's about the claims experience. It's about the claims experience with the insured that has the loss, and I think both the carriers. I think the carriers, clearly the TPAs, and then sometimes the restoration companies have lost sight of that claims experience that they're happening. Because I tell agents that are a lot of times both. I said, look, I serve two different customers. I have the insured who had the loss, and I have the carrier that's paying for it. I've got to keep both of them happy. The insured might not ever see me again, but I might be on another job next week with that adjuster, and they go, oh God, it's Level Creek. That doesn't bode well for me. So. there's got to be that balance, but it's definitely changed. I mean, I had a large loss adjuster I was talking to a couple months ago, and he's in management now. He's, yeah, I had to fire 4 adjusters. He goes, Andy, there's a good chance the adjuster that you're dealing with was working in a mall food court 2 weeks ago. It's just, I think there's just been so much that they've done. And I think, but I do think that pendulum's going to swing, because I think a lot of these companies, especially any insurance company where you see a commercial on TV, they're going to start losing market share because the claim experience for their insurance has gone so low that they're going to have to realize that they've got to get back to helping out those customers. And I hope we see a little bit of that pendulum swing back.
Well, and I think what the other thing I think is interesting in carrier land is you have some upstart insurance carriers that are all technology based, completely decentralized, like think the opposite of the State Farm model, where there's a State Farm office in every town in Georgia, right? Like,
yeah,
gone are those days. And so these guys are operating lean and mean.
Right.
And the only way that the State Farms of the world survive is by providing additional value for the dollars they charge.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Other than that, like go with Geico auto insurance, right? Like if it's just a commodity, go buy the cheap, go to the Walmart, get the Walmart stuff, right?
Right. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely you do get what you pay for to an extent, because I do think that like you said, things are changing now to where that claims experience for these bigger companies is definitely hitting their bottom line. So yeah, they're going to have to get back into more of a customer service module, and then also maybe try to, from there and maybe hopefully start reining in these TPAs to say, let's not just focus on mashing buttons and looking at this. Let's see, we have to do the speed the process up. So the lady that has been waiting for 3 weeks, a month to get an estimate approved so you can build her house back, it's happening in more like 4 weeks, 4 days to a week. Just because some booger eater sitting in a cube that keeps giving you a rejection because you don't have the right linear feet of masking. I mean, it's ridiculous.
God, I miss the South and all the little sayings and phrases that come from the South.
I don't know if that's a Southern phrase, but yeah.
It feels like all it needed was a little bless their heart in there, and then you had it dialed in, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that around here too. Mostly pointed at me.
Fair enough, man. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit here and talk story with me. Anything you want to say to close us down?
No, just anybody that's watching this, they know what Pivot's all about, and anybody that is interested, I think, like I said, I think if you want to move your business, if you want to move in a direction, I mean, I couldn't have done it without Pivot. And I couldn't have done it without the groups and the camaraderie that I have and the relationships that I've made of it. And that's part of it is just, we're all, trying to, whether we're a $3 million company or a $30 million company, we're all trying to go somewhere. And so Pivot is an excellent platform for us to be able to spring things off of each other. And it's been a challenge, but it's been nice knowing that you guys are right there.
Awesome. Appreciate that, man. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye. Aloha.